Friends, welcome to the Strategic Success Podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Fricky. We're here for another week, another episode. This week, I want to give you guys a bit of a life update and kind of tell you where I'm at, where am I at with real estate, what's going on, and what am I focusing on. So, for those of you who've been living underneath the rock and you haven't heard, so August 1st, so today is September 3rd, August 1st, 2025, my family and I, we moved to St. Petersburg, Florida from New Orleans. So multi-states move. And so we've been living here. We've already traveled back for a week-long trip to New Orleans recently. Um, for those who may not have known, in end of 2024, we got married on paper. The end of 2025, we are going to have a small ceremony, so wedding. I do not recommend moving across state lines and planning a wedding in the same year. Okay, it's not for the faint of heart. But nonetheless, it's been fun. We've got a strong community here. I've been traveling to St. Petersburg, Florida area for years. A lot of very deep real estate ties into this market, but definitely not forgetting where we came from. Definitely not. So, with that being said, I want to kind of tell you, hey, where am I at business wise? What does this look like? Maybe you've been considering a move and you're saying, hey, I'm just a little curious on some of the back. Maybe you're curious what this could look like for yourself. Maybe you are just nosy. Either way, there's a lot that I put out publicly, not everything, but there is some things, right? Um, so with that being said, I've been getting a lot of questions about this. So this is just my overall update video. Um, don't worry if you are in South Louisiana, South Mississippi. I have multiple trips planned between now and Mardi Gras. We kind of laid it out, all the times we're going to be back in town. And then, I mean, currently, look, we moved August 1st, and within 2 weeks, we're already back in New Orleans. That was our first trip back. So that was, got to see some of you guys hang out and have meetings. But know this, when I'm back in town, most of the time, I'm going to be very strategic, whether it's dealing with deals, whether it's, going to properties, working with partners, or having very strategic meetings with new people, or maybe even some education, whether it's teaching at a RIA, whether it's teaching at a brokerage, things like that. So those are things that are, I'm going to have to be more planned out. Hey, I have limited availability in person. If need be, I could always go jump a flight for the day to New Orleans for the day and then come back in the evening. No one loves to do that, but it's always an option. Um, so as far as my portfolios in Louisiana and Mississippi, I had some folks who are asking about that. I still have four different property managers, and I am um, well, five actually, five different property managers. Um, Almost done with one last property with them, and then we'll be done. But I've been very strategic in building the team, knowing for about 2 years we're going to make this move. So I do have third-party property management that handles my long-term rentals as well as my midterm rentals. Um, there is a level there that yes, I am selling some of my portfolio. About half of my doors I'm going to be selling. I've got one big chunk of doors lined up for a sale. You'll be hearing about that more soon. Um, and some other, sales lined up. We'll see how those go. I am looking for easier management there. So anything that was just either not easy to manage, maybe more of a problem child, whatever, that is kind of the pivot I've been making there. I am still buying in South Louisiana, South Mississippi. I am under contract for a property in Mississippi, and I am working a number of deals in Louisiana right now. So, still buying, still active, still talking to sellers. Talked to one just earlier today, and have another one I need to call here today before I finish up. So, but I'm leaning on my strategic partners. So, it's not one of those things where if someone wants, me specifically be at a property today, it's not going to necessarily be me. It's going to be one of the people on my team. But I mean, I'm still buying. I still want to acquire there. I did pull back on acquisitions a little bit, leaning towards, the move. But I've got my office partially set up. It's definitely not all the way set up. Trying to build a little bit of a studio out, so takes a little bit more effort. Um, but I've been juggling, kind of unpacking. Our house is still half packed, um, so we're not fully unpacked or whatever. The goal there has just been to get enough so that we're functional. But there's been a lot of other priorities, like, and here's something that I've been having a conversation with lots of folks about, but this is something that you'll start to see more about content wise. But I am making a big pivot strategy wise. So, for those who don't know my background, a big part of my strategy has been I started off flipping, got into a lot of flipping and wholesaling for many years. And then I started keeping rentals around 2018, 2019. So I would still do some of the flips, some wholesale, and started keeping more rentals. For a few years, I was a lot more rentals and then selling stuff on owner financing, different forms of owner financing. And while I would still do, whether it's some flips or some wholesale deals, things like that. Over the years, though, there was a strategy that I did that I would say probably 30% of my deals involved it. And now that's a rough estimate, but and I would say probably 15% where it was the full main strategy. And that is where I dealt with distressed ownership issues or title issues, so curative work. And now I am flipping it to where that is going to be my main business model in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Florida. And although I'm still buying cash, I'm still buying creative, that's where, I'm going to be leaning heavily on my partners for those. But as far as my core business, it's going to be dealing with these more complicated issues. So let's kind of break down what that means. So when I talk about difficult ownership issues, so that means, oftentimes it's tied to probate, maybe divorce, or it is old, like broken partnerships. So when it comes to that, for example, let's just say four people inherit a house and three want to sell, but one doesn't. And so at that point, realtors can't sign a listing agreement, investors can't sign a purchase agreement to buy the whole house. And so when there's a holdout buyer, those situations, right? Where what if there's four who inherit it, but one of them is a cousin they haven't spoken to in 20 years and they don't know where they're at. The last they knew, they were homeless on the side of the street in California. So whether it's someone they can't find, maybe it's, hey, this house has been abandoned, and the guy died, no one knows their heirs, right? So I had one earlier today. I spoke with a seller in Louisiana. And this is someone who came to me, and they had sold a house in the 80s with a loan assumption to someone. Well, that someone died. This person, this seller, moved into the property and they paid off that mortgage and they've been paying the taxes ever since. But the title of the property is in someone else's name, who, which they've tried, they don't know who the heirs belong to. So I'm talking like I want the deal to be so messed up it needs a therapist, right? So the more complicated, the better. And this can be on houses, this can be on land, this can be on commercial. Um, it can also be if it has too many liens or judgments. A lot of you guys have known about the one property I bought up in North Covington. It's a large house on a corner lot that so many people tried to solve the issue. But that was one that it took me a while to figure it out, but was able to get it solved, and we were able to put that house back in commerce. But 35 different liens and judgments, 2.2 million worth of them. But when all said and done, it fixed up. It sold for 400, right? So grossly underwater, so many different issues, three failed foreclosures, all of those things. So you'll start seeing more marketing geared toward this. I'm actually going to be telling the stories of some of the deals that I've done. So moving forward, some of these, maybe some of the podcast will be me telling some of the, more in depth, some of the stories of these deals. Or I am going to line up some interviews. I've kind of pulled back on the interviews just because I have, my plate's been so full with the transition of the moves. So you've been getting some of these monologues here, but don't worry, the interviews are coming back. Um, but you're going to be seeing, case studies of this and marketing toward this because I am going to be doing this in, Pinellas County here in Florida, which is the St. Petersburg area. I'm already working my first deal in the Tampa area. That is this. And so if you are a realtor, if you're a wholesaler, another investor, if you are a professional in the real estate industry, these are generally in your file where your headaches go, right? Hey, I tried to, for example, I had a listing, had someone interested in listing their property with me, but then, not all the owners could agree. One really wanted to sell, but the other one didn't. Um, different situations like this. Or hey, this person wanted to sell, but they've got a mortgage that they haven't paid on in 6 years, and the lender's not responding, and we can't clear the title of that issue. Whatever it may be, if you have a lead like this, if you go to courtneyfreaky.com, you can input, and I want to show you what that looks like. All right, let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here. So if you are driving and listening, running and listening, you're not going to be able to see this unless you pause. So, all right. All right. So for those of you seeing my screen here, so this is CourtneyFreaky.com. So if you see, I have two links at the very top. One is the second one is get an offer on your South Louisiana or South Mississippi property. This is great for cash or some general creative stuff. But if you have a title of ownership issue, input your property for a custom solution. That is the first link. um, they are different, right? Like if it's just a simple transaction, meaning maybe they're facing foreclosure, they just need a cash offer, a quick offer, something like that, put it into the second link right here that says get an offer on your South Louisiana or South Mississippi property. I'm going to try to figure out how to clear this up here. We'll see how it goes. But that here shows you CourtneyFreaky.com, just brings you to a link tree here that's basically a be all for, really my links and things like that. Well, guys, I want to kind of close out and see, where you are going to, what you're going to see from me education wise. Tons of short form is still coming out. I'm actually building out the studio here so that I can knock it out more consistently, all of those things. You're also going to still see weekly podcasts from me. Don't worry. Again, these monologues will be here, but also the interviews are coming back. So you're still going to see podcasts weekly. You're going to get daily short form content across, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. And then, so there's no more seminar events for me in 2025. I am playing around with the idea of doing a Christmas party for Florida locals, just to kind of continue to insert myself into the industry down here. For those of you who are local, stay tuned for that. I'm starting to play around that idea. I am looking at a Q1 or Q2 seminar. It's going to be a new seminar, different from what I've put on so far, but it's probably the number one question I get. And if you are a meetup head or if you own a business, you're going to be interested in this. But so that's a little bit of my life update. Getting to spend a lot of time with my mentor, Peter Fortunato, down here. A lot of great community connections down here. I'm really enjoying that. I actually am forcing myself to get back into journaling so that I can properly document this season. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting, you guys. With that being said, appreciate you guys tuning in. Today's going to be a short one, but I just wanted to give that life update. I'm getting a ton of questions about, hey, what's going on? Are you still buying in Louisiana? Are you now buying in Florida? Can I send you deals here? Um, with that being said, you guys, appreciate you. Stay tuned next week. Another podcast coming your way. Appreciate y'all. Have a great day.